And I'm about to settle the biggest food fight in the country once and for all. Believe it or not, we took a plane load of Bostonians and flew round trip to Philadelphia on Steamline Air just for lunch and back to find out who makes the best cheesesteak in the city of brotherly love. It's one of America's greatest guilty pleasures, the Philly cheesesteak. Juicy ribeye, melted cheese, and fried onions served up on a fresh-baked Italian roll. And nowhere on the planet do they sell more cheesesteaks than the corner of 9th and Passyunk in South Philly.
You can't get a sandwich like this anywhere else in the world.
Everybody's here to try a cheesesteak.
The flavor of that steak is just going to explode in your mouth.
Today, this simple sandwich is served all across America, but here is where it began. It all started more than 80 years ago when hot dog vendor Pat Oliveri decided he wanted something a little different for lunch. So he sizzled up some steak, slapped it on a roll, topped it with onions, and the steak sandwich was born.
It's still exactly the same as it was when my Uncle Pat started making steak sandwiches back in 1930. It still has that same flavor and taste.
The only change over the years has been the addition of cheese, American, provolone, or the most popular option, Cheese Whiz. And today, Pat's King of Steaks sells millions of them every year, making the cheesesteak Philly's most popular tourist attraction.
When people come to Philadelphia, usually they land at the airport, they come to Pat's to get a cheesesteak, they drive out the City Rocky statue, and then they go check out the Liberty Bell.
But Pat's isn't the only place slinging steaks. In 1966, a man named Joe Vento set up shop right across the street and opened Genos, which quickly earned its own loyal fans, and America's greatest food fight was underway.
You know, you have your people across your streets yelling, Genos is better than Pat's, and the people over Pat's, Pat's is better than Genos. I mean, I've seen fights break out over it.
But we wanted to know which of these two cheesesteak champs really is the best. So we took a bunch of Bostonians, got on this plane, and decided to eat them for ourselves to find out.
This place all seat back at tray tables in the upright and locked position.
Let's eat. Here we are on the streets of South Philadelphia, where the cheesesteak was invented. It's on this corner that the two most famous cheesesteak places in the world do battle every day. Pat's Steaks is on one side, and then right across the street, you have the famous Genos Steaks. The question is, which one is the real cheesesteak champion?
Next, anybody next? Step right up, let's go.
At Pat's King of Steaks, owner Frank Oliveri and his grill guys can turn out a cheesesteak in about 5 seconds.
You open your roll, pop the meat in, dress it with onions, and apply the cheese.
Most sandwiches go out with that smear of yellow Cheese Whiz, but if you want it any other way, it's not a problem, as long as you know how to order.
It's kind of strict. We have a sign up there and it gives you basically step-by-step information on how to order a steak sandwich. First of all, have your money ready. Secondly, decide if you want steak sandwich with or without onions and with or without cheese. So for instance, if you want a cheesesteak with cheese whiz and fried onions, you would say, give me a cheese wit.
I got my cheese wit and couldn't wait to take a bite. Very chewy. The bread is kind of nice and soft. It has a good mouthfeel. And on the inside, tons and tons of beef flavor. I mean, really, really savory. Onion, beef, powerfully beefy, super beefy. Once I finished my Pat's cheesesteak, it was time to check out the competition. Genos Steaks is the bigger and flashier of the two. They're famous for their celebrity sightings, for their neon signs, and most importantly, that toasty, incredible fresh-baked bread.
South Philly's been known for their bread. It's the best bread in the country, maybe the world's. That's important to making a sandwich, especially a cheesesteak.
Jeffrey Barris has been serving sandwiches at Genos for 27 years, and he prides himself on layering the cheese, steak, and onions properly so customers taste each ingredient in every mouthful.
You bite into every bite of our sandwich, and there's a piece of meat in it, cheese and onions. And that's what makes it the best tasting steak and best looking steak.
It sure looks pretty good, but how does it taste? It's beefy, it's cheesy, it's salty, has a little bit of sweetness, crunchy bread. This is what the Philly cheesesteak's all about. Of course, I wasn't alone on this trip, and the sandwich experts I brought from Boston all had opinions of their own.
The steak consistency over at Pat's is better, although the roll knocks it out of the park at Genos.
Wow, that's good stuff. Nothing like a Philly cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Pat's King of Steaks. This is delicious.
Pat's.
kills Genos. Pat's is a much better sandwich place, all right?
It's tremendous, tremendous. I've never had anything this good. Where are we anyway?
So bottom line, both places serve a damn good cheesesteak. But if you ask me, Pat's is the original, and it's still the best. And that's how you do a cheesesteak challenge. And if you'd like to take the cheesesteak challenge, you gotta check out our friends at Steamline Air. They fly nonstop daily from Hanscom Field in Bedford to the Philly-Trenton area with no lines and no hassles. Just go to iflystreamline.com.